The unplugged men finally completed their machine after 2 months of arduous labor. This video chronicles our journey of failures, successes, and learning. Hope you enjoy it.
The grenade deployment subsystem was the highest scoring portion of our machine. It has 4 major functions. The first part is to store the grenades. The second part is to move the grenades to the beast lair. Third part is to release the grenades in a timely manner, and the fourth part is to egress. For storing the grenades, we went with a rectangular prism box. This has a major advantage as that it makes things easier to mount on it, such as the long arm switch and the solenoid that we would have to mount later on. The dimensions were chosen with a 5% margin of error for the overall length of the ball, so we assumed that we would have 42mm balls, when in fact they're 40mm standard ping pong balls. This made it so we didn't run into any real issues with the box itself. The second part for moving the actual subsystem to the beast lair was done using a long drawer slide of 22 inches and a short drawer slide of 17 inches. There's a little bit of extra room, but that's just to make case. Sure. The third part of actually releasing the hand grenades was done through the use of a solenoid and a long arm switch. The long arm switch range was extended using a wire. Whenever it came into contact with the walls of the beast lair, it sent a signal that was then debalanced by the code, which gave the release time for the ball. The ball release was done by pulling up the solenoid, and after like a 0.4 second delay, which was found to be the optimal time for a given angle, the solenoid was moved back down. This is only done using restriction of the movement of the solenoid, which requires putting a slot with a wire through it, and the slot length has to be on the order of magnitude about 0.25 inches, which is the maximum effective range where the solenoid can operate as a reusable actuator. If it's too high up, it gets permanently magnetized. If it's too far down, it can't be pulled up and will not function. The egressing was just done using a motor in the back of the machine, which pulled in the platform that it was connected to.
The shrubbery collection system consists of 2 separate arms. The collection arms are deployed to both sides in an attempt to collect as many shrubbery as efficiently possible. The arms were constructed of 3 separate pieces of wood and 2 hinges per arm. This construction allowed for a compact design that, when integrated with the rest of the machine, permitted an efficient boxing process. Both arms were mounted so that the arms deploy at a 45-degree angle, placing them in immediate contact with the shrubbery. This fast deployment ensures collecting more balls than the competitors to either side. One arm is deployed by a pneumatic cylinder as soon as the code is initiated, also reducing deployment time. The second arm deploys with the grenade deployment system. Once both arms have been deployed, a motor located in the back of the machine begins to retract the arms by means of a string methodically attached to the arms.
As a team, we made a decision to remove the Black Knight from our zone rather than try to slap it into someone else's zone. And to do so, we employed a 3-bar hinge mechanism which would hang from the plank which holds the grenade system. This hinge mechanism would allow the arm to easily pass over the Black Knight on its way down and collect it on the way back. This was probably one of the easier tasks amongst the 4 tasks which we had to carry out.
Shown in Figure 1 completed most of the tasks. However, it could not retract the arms to bring the shrubberies into the base. The motor mount could not pull the thread inwards, and this resulted in a loss of points for the team. Thus, we had to improve upon this. From the previous design, the motor manages to retract the arms to bring the shrubberies into the base. However, this design posed the team with a new challenge. The drawer slides would not release, thus the grenades could not be launched in the beast lair. Unfortunately, even the improvement from the previous design was not good enough. It would still result in the team losing points, therefore the above 2 designs were not selected for the final design.
The design improved upon the previous 2 designs considerably. The arms retracted back efficiently and collected most of the shrubbery. The drawer slides were consistently being deployed as well. It even had a mechanism to remove the Black Knight from the arena. Furthermore, this entire setup was deployed by means of a pneumatic cylinder.
This design was able to collect 8 shrubbery while not being able to do anything else: defeat the Black Knight, deploy holy hand grenades, or retrieve the Holy Grail. While shrubbery is worth a sizable number of points, this task alone would not be sufficient to perform well during the final competition. Not being able to complete more than 1 task effectively caused the team to pass on this design. This design, while being able to complete a singular task well, once again could not complete other tasks well, if at all. The long-term goals of the team to be successful during the final competition caused the design team to pass on this design, designating it as an alternate. While this design, being able to retrieve tennis balls, did not even possess the ability to deploy into the blast zone, where the Beast Slayer and Holy Grail reside. Not even being able to attempt these tasks made making this design an alternate an extremely easy decision. Without the foundations to complete two tasks with high weighted points would guarantee defeat on competition day.
Once we came up with alternative design ideas for our project, we had to pick the best. To do so, we employed an evaluation matrix. This table contains criteria that are essential for the functioning and success of the machine. As you can see, these criteria are weighed on a scale from 0 to 10 based on their importance. Size and speed were ranked 10 because failure to meet these criteria would result in a DQ. Launching the grenades and collecting the shrubbery were also ranked 10 because these two tasks would amass a great amount of points for the team, 83 to be precise. Furthermore, if the egress is successful, the grenade points would be doubled. Consistency is also ranked a 10. This is because, as we mentioned in our aim, we are intent on making this machine reliable and repeatable. This will ensure that the team is not faced with any unpleasant surprises during the final competition. Once we had our criteria set, we ranked the alternatives on a scale of 1 to 4 and calculated an overall score for each design. As is evident from this table, Design 1 stood out as the design that would be our best fit for the competition.
Unplugged was able to make it to round 3. And so looking back on the competition, when we break down what happened, during round 1 we were only able to deploy one grenade. We got the egress, we were only able to collect 2 tennis balls, and we were not able to remove the Black Knight. And so this got us a grand total of 3 points, which as a team we were rather upset about and not sure what the future looked like from there. And so we, after round 1, we decided to assess our problems, and we realized what was wrong, and we made changes to the grenade mechanism, the grenade deployment mechanism. So what we did is we removed one of the shrubbery arms, we broke it in two, and we used the pieces to fix the grenade deployment system by shimming it up to allow it to actually place balls into the Beast Layer. And so during round 2, our efforts worked, and we were able to deploy all 4 grenades in egress. We collected 3 tennis balls with only 1 arm, and we still were not able to remove the Black Knight. This got us a grand total of 62 points, which actually won us the round and is what allowed us to move on to round 3. And so after round 2, we looked back at what happened and assessed that we still were not collecting the Black Knight, so we decided to make some changes there. And we added some mass to our mechanism that was supposed to swing over the Black Knight and retrieve it and bring it back into our machine to remove it from the home zone. And so we were fairly confident in this fix. And but unfortunately, during round 3, we were DQ'd due to some boxing issues, and so that was the end of the competition for us, which was rather disheartening. But overall, it was a solid performance.
There are many future improvements to the machine that could have been added. The first one and most important one, and the reason why we DQ'd, had to deal with how we were managing our strings. Motor spool improvements could have fixed this. We could have had the motors wind up and just keep the string organized, and we had the issue of the motor spools falling off because the connection was too loose with the actual motor itself. And improving that would help time improvement between rounds. The second major improvement is the Black Knight. Right now, as it was set up, the Black Knight system, when it shoots out, it failed to get over the Black Knight and pull back. So we could change the mass and some of the arm lengths to allow it to get over. But this is a bit of trial and error because if the mass is increased too much, it'll knock the Black Knight away and make it irretrievable. The third major thing is our unofficial 4th subassembly, which is the ball removal subassembly, of which we had 3 design ideas for. The first being a rack and pinion, which would be a linear actuator to go into and out of the Beast Layer. The issue with this being that the current setup had no good motor mount placement that would allow for the rack and pinion to be set up. The second idea was a scissor arm that could have been implemented, but it was never tested. The models were made for it, so they could be laser cutted and easily assembled, but we just never had the time to test it. And the third one that we did actually test was a mounted mouse trap with a little arm attachment that went into the Beast Layer. and just pulled out the balls. It was tested, but not extensively, and we felt that it was too much of a risk to go in on the actual day of the competition without knowing that it worked completely, as it could have gotten caught in the actual beast lair or something else that could have happened that would have gotten us DQ'd.
Well, ME 2110 has been a great learning experience for all of us. It's probably been one of the classes where I've had the most fun and learned the most. However, I'm so glad that it's finally over.